picturesque Pacific Northwest, a dark shadow began to creep among the towering pines and winding rivers. This was a time in the early 1980s where the serene beauty of Seattle and Tacoma, Washington, was disrupted by whispers of terror. Women, often those living on society's fringes, started disappearing without a trace. Some were last spotted hitchhiking along the Pacific Highway South. Others evaporated into the ether, their absence only marked by their empty places at home. This sudden surge in disappearances sent shockwaves of fear and uncertainty across the region. Families were left in agonizing suspense, their loved ones vanished, and law enforcement agencies were at their wits' end trying to piece together the puzzle. The shadow, now known as the Green River Killer, seemed to operate with impunity, leaving behind a chilling void of evidence. As the body count rose, the case of the Green River Killer became one of the most baffling and notorious in U.S. history. For nearly 2 decades, the Green River Killer eluded capture, slipping through the fingers of law enforcement time and time again. This wasn't a game of cat and mouse, but a horrifying reality for the people of Seattle and Tacoma, Washington. The Green River Killer's victims were often young women living on society's fringes, engaged in high-risk lifestyles. These women, many of them involved in prostitution, became the preferred targets of the killer's twisted desires. Their line of work, coupled with the lack of societal support, made them easy prey. These women, stripped of their lives in the prime of their youth, were not just victims. They were daughters, sisters, and mothers. Their loss left a haunting void in the hearts of their families, friends, and the entire community. The Green River Killer operated with a chilling precision, leaving behind little evidence. His ability to blend into the ordinary made him a terrifying enigma. The community lived under a cloud of fear, a constant tension that hung in the air, thick and palpable. You could feel it in the quiet whispers of neighbors, see it in the cautious glances of strangers. The question on everyone's lips was always the same: who would be next? The lack of leads proved frustrating for law enforcement. Each new day seemed to bring with it only more questions, more anguish, and a growing sense of dread. The elusive nature of the killer, his ability to strike and vanish without a trace, was maddening. But even in the face of this relentless terror, hope endured. Behind the scenes, a dedicated team of investigators and forensic scientists was working tirelessly to bring the killer to justice. They pored over countless pieces of evidence, followed every lead, no matter how small, and refused to let the case go cold. Their determination was a beacon of light in an otherwise dark and terrifying time. Their pursuit of justice, relentless. Their resolve, unbreakable. For nearly 2 decades, the Green River Killer remained a phantom, a faceless specter of terror. But even the most elusive of killers leave traces, and it was only a matter of time before those traces would lead to his downfall. In 2001, a breakthrough finally came. DNA evidence linked Gary Ridgway to the murders, and he was arrested. It was a moment that marked a turning point in one of the most notorious cases in U.S. history. The relentless pursuit of justice had led investigators to the forefront of forensic science. At a time when DNA analysis was still in its infancy, they turned to this emerging technology to crack the case wide open. The investigators collected samples from the crime scenes, painstakingly preserving the tiny fragments of evidence that would eventually lead them to Ridgway. It was a game of patience and precision, a race against time to connect the dots before the killer could strike again. The forensic experts worked tirelessly, their efforts fueled by a collective determination to bring the Green River Killer to justice. Finally, their work paid off. The DNA samples collected at the crime scenes matched those of Gary Ridgway. The seemingly ordinary man was arrested, and the shadow of fear that had loomed over the Pacific Northwest for nearly 2 decades began to lift. Ridgway confessed to the killings, a shocking admission that sent ripples through the community. He claimed the lives of at least 49 women, a figure that surpassed the grim toll initially suspected by law enforcement. The trial that followed was a harrowing journey into the depths of human depravity. Ridgway, the man who had lurked in the shadows, was now in the glaring spotlight of the courtroom. Details of his horrific crimes were laid bare, leaving no room for doubt about the extent of his guilt. In a plea deal to avoid the death penalty, Ridgway cooperated with authorities, leading them to the resting places of many of his victims. It was a grim discovery, a stark reminder of the lives stolen by his brutal hands. Families of the victims confronted Ridgway, seeking answers and closure for their loved ones. Their courage in the face of such unimaginable grief served as a beacon of hope, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit even in the darkest of times. But even as Ridgway was brought to justice, the scars of his crimes would never fully heal. The arrest and conviction of the Green River Killer marked the end of a chilling chapter in the history of the Pacific Northwest. Yet the wounds he inflicted on the community were deep and indelible. The communities of Seattle and Tacoma, once seemingly safe and serene, were left with a shattered sense of security. The knowledge that such a monster had lived and hunted among them was a bitter pill to swallow. The fear that had once gripped them had now morphed into a lingering unease, a reminder of the horror that had unfolded in their midst. Yet in the face of this darkness, there was a glimmer of resilience. The relentless pursuit of justice by law enforcement and the unwavering strength of the victims' families were rays of light in the gloom. Their determination to bring Ridgway to justice, despite the years and the heartache, was a testament to the indomitable human spirit. The memory of the victims, young women who were tragically taken too soon, endures. Their lives, cut short by a man's twisted desires, are remembered not for their end, but for their humanity. They were daughters, sisters, friends, each with dreams and hopes, each one missed and mourned. The Green River Killer's reign of terror also spurred significant advances in forensic science. The very technology that helped ensnare Ridgway has since been used to solve countless other cold cases. In this way, the victims have left a legacy of justice that reaches far beyond their own tragic stories. The case of the Green River Killer serves as a grim reminder of the darkness that can lurk within the human soul, but it also stands as a testament to the resilience of those who seek justice and the enduring memory of those who lost their lives to senseless violence. The shadow of the Green River Killer may loom large, but the light of justice and remembrance shines brighter